What's up, guys? It's me, Christian Rodriguez, and today I wanted to talk about if you're young in your 20s, you're lost. Even if you're older, you should listen to this, right? But you're young, you don't really know what to do, you're lost. Maybe even you're facing some form of depression, frustration. You're not happy with the results you're getting in your life. I have an alternative for you. I have something that maybe can help with this, right? Like, it's not going to fix everything in your life, but it's going to fix certain things in your life, right? And I've mentioned a video of this in the past, and that's training a combat sport, a martial art, right? Whether that's jujitsu, Muay Thai, kickboxing, wrestling, what boxing, what else? What else? Karate, right? Krav Maga, whatever it is, right? Judo, pick one of them and just start training them. Just start training. And there's a lot of benefits to training a combat sport, right? That I'm going to mention in this video. Like, there's some key benefits that's going to benefit you in the long term, right? And even I do truly believe, even if you're struggling even with just women, right? Attracting women. I'm not a dating coach, so don't take this as dating advice. Just take this as this is very useful and this could be very helpful in all aspects of your life, training a combat sport. But this can even benefit just you getting better with women, right? Because if you're getting punched in the face all day, or not all day, but if you're getting punched in the face or you're getting choked by a grown man who's stronger than you, who could kill people basically with their skills, a woman won't seem that bad, right? Approaching a pretty girl won't seem that daunting because, yeah, if you compare the two, it seems almost laughable the amount of danger you're facing on that one. But yeah, that's an example of why you should start doing it. And I'm gonna break it down into just different ways that you can start. I mean, different ways on how it would benefit you on doing it, right? Because so why should you listen to this handsome guy on YouTube for this video you just clicked? Well, the reason why I've trained Brazilian Jiu Jitsu for like 3.5 years. I've done Muay Thai for almost 2 years. I've done boxing on and off for years, right? And when I was a kid, I remember doing some karate. I didn't do it for that long. I didn't stick with it. But yeah, I noticed the benefits myself when I started doing it, right? And even when I was living at home with my parents in the boring suburbs of New York, in Westchester, New York, that's probably the one thing that kept me sane, right? And people might say, all you need to do is go to the gym. And sure, you can go to the gym. That's great. You can go to the gym, you can lift weights, you can go to Planet Fitness, you could technically go to uh, LA Fitness, 24-hour fitness, doesn't fucking matter, right? But I do think there's a bit of a limit to it because I've done that too. I've had the powerlifting phase, right? I still go to those gyms, right? I still go to I go to Blink Fitness, right? But trust me, right? Hear me out. There is a benefit to going to a fighting gym over a Planet Fitness type of gym, right? And at first, right? First of all, the fighting gym, it's going to put you in a situation where you can't really, like, when you go to Planet Fitness or you go to like any sort of gym, even it could be Equinox, doesn't matter, right? You go to lift weights, you just put on your headphones, you're usually to yourself, and you're on the machine all by yourself. And sure, you could challenge yourself, but if you feel off that day, you could easily just half-ass the workout. Let's just be honest here, right? You could easily half-ass the workout. You could cut it short. You can do the bare minimum, right? And then go home without ever talking to someone, right? 'Cause that's usually what most people do at those gyms, right? But you go to a fighting gym, what's going to happen, right? Is you're probably going to do some drills, warm up. I'm going to use Muay Thai as an example, right? You don't have to, it doesn't have to be Muay Thai that you choose, but Muay Thai is an example because I trained that the most. So Muay Thai, you go, maybe you start with the jump rope. Some gyms start with just some kicking drills, right? Some shadow boxing, right? So you're doing some light shadow boxing, some jump rope. You get yourself ready, you start getting warm, and then you start doing some kicking drills. You're kicking the pad, right? Maybe you have a partner and the partner has a Thai pad and you guys are kicking the Thai pads, right? And then you guys are doing some drills that the coach gets you guys drilling constantly for about 30 minutes, right? So you're doing that for 30 minutes and you both are sweating. Everyone's sweating. And then maybe at the end of class, not every school does it differently, but at least the school that I go to, at the end of class, we do have light sparring every time, right? We don't kill each other. We're not ripping each other's heads off. We only have one day of hard sparring, but we'll have one day of just we'll have light sparring at the end of class. And sparring is extremely exhausting. Sparring, you're freaking going. It's unpredictable. The other person can punch you, kick you. You don't know what they're going to do. They might even go in and clinch, right? If they're really good with that. You have to just figure it out. Some people are taller. Some people are shorter. Some people are really good at boxing. Some people are very good at kicking. You have to be able to adjust to the person you're going against. And all of that stuff is very exhausting, right? You're going to get hit. You're going to feel very exhausted, right? Because when you're sparring, I think people underestimate how exhausting fighting is. It's extremely exhausting. So you have to train yourself for it, right? And that's why fighters have a specific like physique to them. They're not huge like gym bros, but they're also like they're dense, like they're strong, but they're not big. They're very lean, right? Because they have to be lean. And that's the benefit of it. Look, you go to the gym, you get pushed every time you go to a fighting gym. You get pushed every freaking time you train. You get pushed, right? Planet Fitness or LA Fitness, whatever freaking gym you go to, you choose how much you want to get pushed, right? Another thing I noticed with fighting gyms, right, when it comes to training at fighting gyms, there's almost like a sense of mutual respect with your training partners, right? I'm assuming you go to a decent gym. At least the gyms I've trained at, people are cool. I'm sure there's gyms out there the guys are shitheads, but at least the gyms that I've trained at, the people are cool. There's a sense of like respect because, and it's ironic. It's almost counterintuitive because the person that you were just punching and they were punching you, you guys are suddenly now like hugging each other and like talking, having a conversation, and both in a good mood. Because I think we naturally have this type of aggression. Men have this sense of competing, right? We have this sense of aggression. And when you're on the mat, right, you let out that aggression. So then afterwards, you have no ego. Your ego's already out of the door. Everything is out. You don't have nothing to prove. You trained hard. Your training partners trained hard. And there's nothing to have an ego about. You go to another type of gym. Let's be completely honest. Most of those guys have fucking egos. I go to both gyms, right? I go to both types of gyms. Most of those guys, you'll see the big guy at the gym. He'll have his like Gymshark or his lifting tee on, right? It's ironic because I have one of my lifting tee on under this hoodie. But he'll have his lifting tee on. He'll have his headphones. He'll think he's cool. He'll bench press 315, right? Go back, act like he's the tough guy in the gym, and you just no way in hell if he went to a fighting gym, he would leave he'd probably quit after the first day or the first week, right? And that's the truth. Like a lot of guys in those types of gyms have egos. Fighting gyms, your ego gets knocked out quickly because you just get your ass kicked, right? And then eventually, you kind of get used to getting your ass kicked, and it just makes you tougher in that way, right? It makes you mentally tougher too. I do think there is some sort of mental toughness to it because when you're sparring, right, you have to remain focused. You have to be present, right? You can't just space out, right? Like maybe you do at the gym. You might space out, get bored. You can't really do that at a fighting gym because you'll just get hit, right? You can't really do that. So you're forced to like really like stay present with your opponent in front of you, right? And I think that has its benefits to it because that leaks out outside the gym. That leaks out into your own personal life, right? And I've always talked about controlling your own emotions, right? I've talked about this in previous videos. I should probably talk about it again because I think not enough people know how to control their emotions or they choose not to control their emotions, so they just lash out. I think I should make another video on that. But the great part about training a combat sport is that it trains you to control your emotions. Because think about it, some dude is trying to freaking choke you in jiu-jitsu, right? They're trying to choke you, they're putting all their body weight on you, and it's very uncomfortable, right? And you're put in positions that are very vulnerable, right? Especially if the guy's more skilled or he's stronger than you. So what you basically have to do is remain calm in those shitty positions, those really vulnerable situations, right? And what it does is it helps exercise almost emotional control, right? People talk about meditation, on how to control your emotions, and even I talk about it. Meditation's great, but I think the most effective way of training yourself to control your emotions is training a combat sport. Anyone, right, with sparring in it, because you're kind of forced to control your emotions and remain calm under duress, under stress, physical stress, like a physical threat in front of you, right? Someone who's trying to punch you in the face or choke you, right? You have to be able to remain calm under that. And when you're brand new to something like that, what the first thing that's going to happen is your fight or flight is going to kick in, right? You're going to be like, you're going to tense up, you're going to be nervous, you're going to be swinging like this, right? And you're going to notice fighters, like, they're very used to it, so they usually remain loose, and they start throwing punches. Maybe they go light, maybe they focus on their defense, right? But you can tell the beginner from the guy who's been doing it for a while, because the guy who's been doing it for a while is very used to it. Like, it's not he's not getting like a fight or flight kicking in sparring, but he's used to that chaos. And I think that type of chaos that leaks into the outside world. Because, okay, I'm going to give you an example, right? I was on the Chicago subway one day, right? Long story short, there was some crazy guy who wanted a napkin, right? It was off of a stupid napkin, right? And he started, he was being a dick about it too. So I was just like, no, I'm not giving you a napkin. And he kept insisting, and I said no. And he was annoying me. So I gave him my receipt so he can blow his nose on that. And then he just started like yelling. And I wanted to yell back. Trust me, I wanted to fight him. I was very annoyed by it. I was definitely like very, like, I was feeling anger from it, right? But I stayed there, and I was like staying quiet while he was yelling, and he wasn't getting closer. He was like walking backwards. And what I did is I just walked away. I was just like, I'm not going to stay here so I can end up getting to a fight with this idiot, this loser. So I ended up going to the other side of the platform and entered the train from the other side, right? Because I just didn't need to get into a fight. I didn't need to have my ego in the way, right? And I think someone who was never trained, someone who doesn't train, someone who's not used to controlling their emotions in that sense, would have probably gone to a fight with that guy, right? And I think the reason why I was able to handle that situation well is because I trained Muay Thai, and I've sparred a lot, and I've done Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. I seriously think that's the reason why. So that's another reason why you should do it, because it makes it easier to de-escalate situations. It makes it easier to handle, stressful situations outside of the gym, right? It just makes it more doable to do because you've dealt with high stress at the gym. So this is, I do think that's actually a trait that makes men very attractive, not just to women, but makes them attractive to other people in general. Because people are going to say, "Oh, this guy has control. This guy is a leader. I can trust this guy," right? It also does subtle things, right? Because since you've trained, you've trained how to you've trained basically in controlled aggression, right, at a gym, right? You've trained in those environments. When you're outside of the gym as well, I think it's something subtle. I think that's what it is. Like the way you walk, you're almost like more assertive, not aggressive. Like, I'm not saying being aggressive, like being a macho man, Oh, that's not what I mean. I mean, it's like very subtle, but a fighter or someone who like trains a lot walks a certain way, and it's not that they're aggressive. It's almost like a fine line. Like they look like someone that you shouldn't mess with, but they're also not trying to start trouble, right? And that's what guys who train combat sports do. That's what guys who train combat sports, that's the message that they give out to the public, the people around them, right? And that's something that's a really good signal, right? That's something that you should I think that's something that more men should be doing, is training combat sports, in my personal opinion, right? Because I think a lot of stress, a lot of aggression, it also gets you in shape. Let's be completely honest. A lot of that pent up aggression, a lot of men who like get into bar fights, stadium fights, if they trained combat sports and they knew how to control their emotions, I think combat sports would help them a lot with that, right? And I'm gonna leave it at that. Obviously, there's a lot more benefits to it, but it's too much to just talk about in one YouTube video. So I'm gonna leave it at there. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm gonna keep creating more content. Subscribe and take care.